Hello, in this video we're going to change the thermostat housing of this 2004 Honda CRV. The reason for that is because we have a coolant leak, and in this video at least what we're going to do is we're going to perform that job from the top of the engine. I'm going to remove the intake manifold to have an easy access to that housing. This procedure basically will be the same as if you need to change the thermostat for the engine. We're going to start off draining the coolant. In order to do that, in the driver's side, I have this cap here. I'm going to loose it, and with that, I'm going to be able to drain the coolant. I'm going to open the radiator cap to make this a little bit quicker. When we finish to drain the coolant, we just need to close back the cap. Now we need to take off this cover. Removing these two bolts are 10 millimeters each. Since we're gonna remove the intake manifold, I need to have as much space as possible. Because of that, I'm gonna remove the hood latch, which is this one. There are 3 bolts, are 10 millimeters also. Now from here, the next thing is going to be remove this air duct, this part only. There are 2 clamps, one is this one here, a sensor and a vacuum hose. So I will have to disconnect those 4 things: the vacuum hose, the harness, and the 2 clamps. These are a Phillips screwdriver will make the trick, or a 10 millimeter socket. Now we're gonna disconnect this hose and this one as well, these 2. Okay. There are 3 harnesses that I have to unplug. This is 1, 2, and there is another blue one here that I have to disconnect. Those 3. Okay. And I have to disconnect this hose from this side, from the intake. There is a clamp here that I have to remove first, and then I will be able to disconnect this hose. I have to do that. And with the help of the screwdriver, I'm snapping off the hose from the intake manifold. Okay, this aluminum part here is the throttle body, and underneath this intake there are 2 hoses, small ones, that we have to unplug too. And those hoses, I'm going to show them out in the picture now. Under the throttle body, towards the front side of the car, there is another harness, a gray one, that I have to unplug. Due to the constraints of space, I cannot show this in the camera, but I'm going to take a photo and show you guys which one it is, and that's the harness that I will disconnect now. Now I'm going to remove the throttle body. In order to do that, I have to remove 4 bolts, 2 that are here, and under the intake there are another 2. The size of those bolts are 10 millimeters. And I can show you guys here in a clear way the location of the bolts. The layout is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the other harness that I was telling you guys goes under the throttle body, the gray harness that needs to be unplugged too. Now I'm going to remove the fuel injection rail. To do that, there are 2 nuts here. The size are 12 millimeters. There is a ground here that I have to remove. The size is 10 millimeters. And unplug this harness here that goes under this vacuum hose. The next step is going to be disconnect this radiator hose, and I'm going to do that from the engine block side. The reason for that is because I have to make room to pull out the intake manifold. Now at this side of the manifold, around here, pretty much but underneath the manifold, there is a harness that we have to disconnect, and we have to be careful with that because since it's hidden, it's hard to see it, and it could happen that you don't see the harness and then just try to pull out the intake manifold, and then you will break the wire. I'm gonna put a photo of that harness, and the harness is this one that I'm showing now. So being careful with a couple screwdrivers, I'm gonna unplug that harness to keep going with the work. The next thing to be done is to remove 1, 2, 3 bolts and 2 nuts here. The size of all of them are 12 millimeters, and once we do that, we should be able to detach and remove the intake manifold. Well, here there is another tiny vacuum hose. We have to unplug that one, and let's be careful to don't break anything. Okay, this one is the thermostat, and this is the thermostat housing, and the housing is the one that is leaking coolant, And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna remove the thermostat. In order to do that, I'm gonna disconnect this hose, and there are 3 bolts, 1, 2, 3 at the bottom. Those are 10 millimeters, and that's what we're gonna do now. This is my thermostat. You guys can see here I have a harness that is the one that it goes to the knock sensor. I have to disconnect this one. I have to disconnect this hose, and then there are 3 bolts, 1, 2, 3, that attach the housing against the block. I have to remove those 3, and finally I will disconnect this this pipe basically that goes inside of the housing by pressure. That's what I'm gonna do now. Alright, without this hose and the bolts, the next thing is going to be detach the housing from this pipe. This pipe goes in there just by pressure, so we have to wiggle the thing and push it down, and then just like move it around in order to detach the housing. Well, in this pipe we need to place a new O-ring here. It's a little bit tricky to find this O-ring. I found it, which is this one here. The part number is 36022, and the brand, at least the one that I got, is Felpro. And I'm gonna connect that pipe in the thermostat housing. The next thing is gonna be just place the housing in the correct position, and then just put the three bolts back. next step is gonna place back my thermostat. I want to connect this hose now. With this, basically, I finished to replace the thermostat housing, and if it's your case, the thermostat as well. The next step is going to be place back the intake manifold. The only thing that I would like to advise is before you place in position the manifold, check all your harnesses and connections and just double check that nothing was unplugged by accident. For instance, as you guys can see here, this terminal that goes to the starter got unplugged. So I need to plug it back. There you go. And just be sure that everything is in the way that should be, because once I place back the intake manifold, it will be super hard to have access to this area. All right, I'm gonna place back then the intake manifold. Once it's in this space, the first thing that I'm gonna do is connect this harness before I even fix the intake, because if I don't do that, it's really hard to connect this one. I'm gonna remove this electro valve. It's not letting me put the intake manifold in position. I'll remove it for just a moment, and then I'll place it back. I'm gonna place back this valve. As you can see, I had unplugged two vacuum hoses. This is one, this is two, which will go here and here. I'm gonna place these 3 bolts that go in the intake. I'm gonna place them. I already put these 2 nuts, and then I'm gonna like tighten all of them. Now I'm going to connect this hose. I'm going to do this now, because if I try to do this after, it's super hard to place this hose in the right place again. Now I'm going to place back the injection system. What I'm gonna do next is place back the throttle body. I am not gonna show in detail step by step what I'm doing. It's basically just go backwards. Just as the summary of the connections that goes towards the throttle body, we will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 harnesses and 2 small hoses with coolant. Those are the things that we have to plug back to the throttle body, and the 4 bolts that attach the throttle body with the intake manifold. Before I move on and finish to install everything that goes here, I'm gonna place this radiator hose back now that I have the space to do that. I'm gonna place back this duct that goes through the throttle body to the air filter box. After I place this one, I'll finish to connect my harnesses, because if I do this first, it will not let me work in a more comfortable way to place back this. I'm gonna place back my hood latch. And finally this cover. Since we drain all the coolant, the final step is going to be place back coolant in the system. Once I do that, I'm going to turn on the car, let it warm up, and just confirm that the coolant leak has been fixed. With the car running and the engine already warm, let's check if we have any leak. We don't. So that means that we have fixed the coolant leak. Well, and with this we're finishing the video. I hope it's useful for you guys, and if that is the case, I will appreciate if you click on like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.